Welcome to phase 3, emotional maturity. I'm very sure this will be the most important phase for the majority of you and one of the most eye-opening, because this is where your real transformation begins and where you can fully unlock all other phases. In this first lesson, you will learn that before you can build the life you want, you need to understand something fundamental. You are not simply who you are. You are who you had to become to survive. You're an adapted version of you. Today's lesson will help you see yourself in a completely new light, or maybe I should say old light, because we're going to start bringing the real you back, the one you were always meant to be. When we come into this world, we are whole, we are open, trusting, alive. But as we grow up, life happens. Some of our needs are met, some are not. Some experiences lift us up, others hurt us. And because we are completely dependent as children, both emotionally, physically, and even existentially, we adapt to survive. If love was conditional, we learn to people please. If emotions were dangerous, we learn to suppress them. If anger was punished, we learn to be silent. If abandonment was a threat, we learn to cling on or to detach. These adaptations were not wrong. They were brilliant survival strategies for a child. But as adults, these adaptations can become small caves or prisons that limit our lives, relationships, and happiness. The problem is that we left our true selves to survive, and the beliefs we created as children continue to stay our reality throughout our adult life. And these beliefs drive our behavior. Let me say this again in a different way, because this is super important. Your behavioral patterns are based on how you choose to deal with the world the way you saw it as a child. And now it's time to re-examine those beliefs through adult eyes, because the survival armor you built was created to protect you from things that weren't always real. It was merely a perception that felt real to you as a child, as if it was the only truth. But remember, you didn't have anything to compare to. You were more or less operating fully on emotion, not rational thinking, because that gift comes later in life. The message here is that your adaptations are not your identity, and that your healing begins the very moment you can recognize the difference between who you are and who you have become. I understand this might be overwhelming, but if you ask yourself who you have become and take time to really let that question sink in, I'm sure you'll be able to see how your current behaviors are linked to how you experienced the world as a child. Using myself as an example, I was born into a divorce and grew up with various types of abuse. So I learned to read my surroundings in an attempt to minimize abuse. But I left my true self in doing so. I felt there's something wrong with me, that I was not worth taking care of, not worth loving, because of how others treated me. My self-esteem was very low. So I people-pleased to get positive feedback and worked hard to get results in an attempt to feel I was good enough. I was also unable to set healthy boundaries because I thought I was not worth treating with love and respect. And because I feared the consequences by saying enough is enough. Until I started my own transformational journey in my 40s, this was my reality. This was who I saw myself as without realizing it was just who I had come to believe I was, based on what I had experienced. It has taken lots of work to come back to who I really am, to peel off all the layers of adaptation, and that journey back to the real me started by understanding who I had become. The fact is that we all carry something from our past, traumatic experience that not only twists our perception of reality, but also takes up space. Imagine your emotional capacity like a glass of water. If the glass is empty, you can handle most challenges with ease. You have full emotional bandwidth to respond calmly, creatively, and wisely. But if your glass is already half full from unresolved fear, shame, grief, or anger from the past, then even small stressful situations can make the glass overflow. You snap at your partner or kids. You shut down during a disagreement. You sabotage opportunities. You lose motivation, seemingly out of nowhere. It's not because you're broken. It's because your emotional system gets overloaded. And here's a painful truth. What we do not heal, we carry. And what we carry determines both what we pass on to our children and how we show up, not just with ourselves, but with everyone around us, including the people we love most. Unhealed wounds silently control our emotional bandwidth, and they will continue to do so until you deal with them. In a later lesson, I will give you various tools to work on your wounds. You may think that it would be wonderful just to move on without having to deal with the pain you've carried throughout your entire life. But there isn't any healthy way around it, because most of what's hurting you isn't just living in your mind, it's living in your body. Trauma is not just a memory of something that happened, it's the emotion of what was never fully processed. When you think about painful experiences, you don't just remember facts, you remember how it made you feel: invincible, scared, not enough, not loved, or abandoned. That's why trauma is very personal. It's not about what happened, but how you felt about it. Some may have had experiences others believe to be horrible, but they've come out without any significant scars on the other side, and vice versa. Some may have had experiences that from the outside look fairly harmless, but because it felt so emotionally overwhelming, it created a trauma. And until that trapped emotion is released, it keeps affecting your nervous system, your breathing, your muscle tension, and your sense of safety and value in the world. That's why healing isn't about thinking different, it's about feeling differently, because you have freed the old pain from your system. So if you ask me, why not just focus on building a better future? Why dig up the past? I would tell you, it's because the past is not gone before you deal with it and let it go. It lives in your beliefs, your habits, your reactions, and your relationships. Trying to build a better life without healing is like trying to run a marathon with a broken leg that you refuse to admit is broken. You can limp forward for a while, but sooner or later, the injury will stop you. So we heal the past, not to dwell in it, but to free the future, to avoid that your unhealed wounds keep shaping your decisions, your limits, and your destiny. To avoid that you have to overuse your mental strength to keep suppressing your emotions. Healing isn't about weakness. It's about making space for inner peace, for full energy, for clarity, for love, and for possibility. It's about reclaiming your entire emotional bandwidth so you can live fully now. Many self-help programs talk about creating the new you, but you don't need to create a new you. You need to return to the real you without the armor you had to build. You're not here to become someone else. You are here to become the best version of you by returning to the real you. Because no version of you will ever feel right unless it's the authentic you. And no man is stronger than the one who stands in his truth. But you cannot think your way into healing. You cannot use logic to find your way out of a wounded childhood. You must feel the emotions that were never safe to feel. Not as the scared or hurt boy, but the wise man you are today. You must release the trapped emotions and reframe the meaning of your experiences from an adult perspective. Healing is the work of liberation, not invention. So as you move forward from this lesson, I invite you to see yourself differently. You are not broken. You are adapted. You are not weak. You are carrying a strong armor that once kept you alive and now needs to be gently taken off so you can be you. Healing is a conscious, courageous act, and the man who dares to heal becomes whole. He becomes free and he becomes unstoppable. In the next lesson, we will explore how your emotional wounds have shaped the way you navigate the world. How these adaptations of you play out in life. Because as I said earlier in this lesson, your healing begins the very moment you can recognize the difference between who you are and who you have become. But for now, sit with this powerful truth. You're not starting from nothing. You are returning to everything you already are.